Between the years of 1930 and 1933, the Soviet Union was hit with a massive famine. This caused massive amounts of death, suffering, and misery amongst the people. This is referred to by anti-communists as the Holodomor, and is claimed to be an intentional genocide by Stalin to wipe out the Ukrainian population. However, does this really hold to reality? In this video, we will go through the facts and evidence to see if this really was a genocide or if this is just another lie by the anti-communists. To begin with, the term Holodomor literally means to kill by starvation. It was first used by Ukrainian nationalist immigrant organizations in the United States and Canada in the late 70s and 80s, who claimed that the famine in the 30s was made deliberately to try and starve Ukrainians, and there was a genocide on the scale of the Holocaust. Anti-communists say it is well proven, and there is an academic consensus, that the famine was a genocide, and that those who deny this fact are just as bad as the Nazis who deny the Holocaust. However, this is just simply not true. The academic consensus by historians is actually that the famine was caused by mismanagement. Some examples of historians rejecting the idea of this being an intentional genocide are Arch Getty, Robert Davis, Stephen Wheatcroft, Hiroki Kuramiya, Stephen Kotkin, Victor Kondrashin, and Mark Tauger, who are all mainstream anti-communist and anti-Stalinist historians. With that myth dispelled, what were the real reasons for the famine then? The reasons were as follows. 1. The Soviet Union emerged from the Russian Empire, which was a poor, underdeveloped nation, and so the Soviets began a period of industrialization. When countries industrialize, there is always a consequence of famine or food shortages, as has happened in the capitalist countries during their industrialization as well, and in the Russian Empire itself, before the Soviets took power. 2. During these years, there was also a lot of bad weather, which decreased the amount of grain produced even further than it would have ordinarily done. 3. During the famine, as grain was being taken out from rural areas to the cities to feed the industrial workers, local corrupt bureaucrats who were so concerned with keeping power did not want to make themselves look bad, and so did not want to report a decreased amount of grain being produced as a result of the drought. This led to the central government in Moscow asking for more grain, as what the local managers were reporting was that the grain produced was higher than it actually was. The local bureaucrats, not wanting to lose their job, did so, which left the people to starve. 4. Sabotage by kulaks, while not being a major factor, did contribute to a worsening of food supplies. Given this, why do so many anti-communists spread the myth that this was a genocide, when there was no direct order from Stalin or the central government asking to take away the grains in order to starve them? So what actions would be used to show that Stalin was intentionally trying to starve the Ukrainians? The main argument used is that Stalin kept confiscating and exporting grain when it was evidence that they were starving, and selling grain once he knew about this. However, the data seems to contradict this. Once it became evident to the central government that there was a famine taking place, exports were drastically reduced and aid was given to areas affected by the famine. If Stalin was creating this famine intentionally, then there would not have been a reduction in exports. It would have increased like it did during the Irish potato famine. In addition, when Stalin and the Central Committee found out about these local level corrupt bureaucrats mismanaging resources and worsening this famine, they were purged and removed from leadership. Furthermore, the famine had not just hit Ukraine, it had hit other regions just as bad. The following table shows a decrease in rural populations from before and after the famine. As you can see, Ukraine wasn't even nearly the worst affected or the most targeted area, as they would like to say. The people in the German Volga Republic, Kazakhstan, and Saratov province were all hit harder than Ukraine, and so the idea that Stalin was specifically trying to wipe out Ukrainians is absolutely ridiculous. The famine was obviously a horrific tragedy, and this is by no way supposed to make light of that fact. However, when looking at the facts, to say that it was a deliberate attempt of genocide against the Ukrainians is nothing but slander.